Good day, everyone, and a warm welcome. It's great to see all of you again. If you are joining for the first time, a warm welcome. This is the second webinar in a series of 6. We started with the first webinar last week, Wednesday, also same time, 5 p.m. So if you have not received the recording of last week's webinar, please send us an email at info@shadowmatch.com. It might be because you didn't join last week or that we could not marry your email to the name that we had on the screen. So please don't feel bad. You can just send us an email and say, please, you might have forgotten me, but I need the recording of last week's webinar. If you are joining for the first time, please let us know, send us an email, and then we can send you the recording of last week so that you don't miss out and that you can listen to the recordings then in sequence. My name's Lizette de Villiers. I'll be the host. And I will hand to Pieter de Villiers, the author and functional developer of the ShadowMatch system and still head of research and marketing, research and development in ShadowMatch, still currently holds that role. But before I hand to Pieter, just a few admin arrangements. You would have noticed that we are recording the session for the purpose of those that cannot join so that they can listen to the recording after. You are welcome, if we do share the recording with you, to also spread the recording to other people. There's no need to keep it secret. You can spread the recording. What we will do is I will take note of everybody that's attending today, and tomorrow Charmaine will send the recording as well as some of the other information that Pieter will promise and that he will allude to during the course of his presentation today. You are welcome to type some questions in the chat if you do feel the need to ask a question during the course of the presentation. We will, however, after Pieter's presentation, I will stop the recording and we will then enable the setting for you to unmute your microphone, and you are welcome to then ask your questions live. We have scheduled this session until 6 p.m. South African Standard Time, so we will be available to answer your questions. I am not approving all the meeting notes because we are recording the session, so it will be available. So it's not necessary for the meeting notes to necessarily be live. I think that's all from my side. I just want to check that there's nothing that I've missed. Welcome, enjoy the session, and then I'm going to hand over to Pieter. Thanks, Pieter.
Thank you, Lizette, and welcome everybody. Just before we start with the video recording, or I think we have started, Lizette, the aim of these sessions is very simple. We have experience in the world of coaching, and what we see happens is that people sign up for the coaching on the coaching platform, but they remain in dormant. Nothing happens. They signed up and they paid, and then there are many reasons, because we talk to some of them, we have a discussion, we get feedback, and in all the examples that I have that I can access, it's not because of the platform, it's because of other reasons. So what I wanted to do is just to help an individual to take a well-informed decision on their way to become a coach, because coaching is not for everybody. That's what we said last week. So let me share my screen with you, or the presentation screen with you, and then we'll discuss the topic of today and what we want to do with the time we have available today. Let's just recap and go back one moment to the previous week, just to refresh. In our previous session, or the previous video, if you watch the videos, we have a series of questions that I suggest one must answer before they decide on becoming a coach. There are 12 questions, and I gave you the scorecard on how to score the results or the answers that you have. If you have 1, 2, 3, 4 yes answers, we would say maybe coaching is not for you, and you will remember what that is all about. Then we said discuss your answers with someone you trust. That discussion, the fact that we talk about something, helps us to think about it in a clear way or in a structured manner, because language is by definition a way of structured thinking. So the fact that we discuss this gives us a bit of clarity. Then if coaching is for you, don't jump the gun. What I mean with that is, if you came to the conclusion that coaching is the thing for you, do not do anything yet. Just hold your guns, just hold your horses for a few weeks so that you take the decision in a very well-informed manner and not in a way that you say, this was not what I wanted to do. So in this session, what I want to share with you is the fact that you must select the model of coaching that you would like to use. The model must not select you. Let me just explain what I mean. I talk to coaches, and then let's say they are narrative coaches. That's the model of storytelling. So you tell your story to somebody, and then you tell a new story, and you tell a future story, and then you live that future story. So it's the word narrative, as you know, means stories or story. So let's say somebody is a narrative coach. Before I say anything else about it, remember, for some people it works, for some it doesn't. For some people, being a narrative coach is a very successful model. But for some it's not. I'm a qualified narrative coach. It doesn't work for me. Not at all. I can't do it. I know exactly how to do it. I've been through all the training. I've got everything. I cannot do it. And there are very complicated reasons behind this. But it's in my mind. The problem is me. And I find a disconnect with the method and the mechanics and the content and the way of narrative coaching. It doesn't work for me. So I can't use it. I've used it 2, 3, 4, 5 times. And then I said, this is not working for me. And it's not working for my client or the other side of the table. But before we go into the detail, how do we select a model? In the majority of cases, this is the problem. The problem is not the coach. The problem is the coach has selected the wrong model. And I will share with you a lot of detail now. But this is also not actually what happened. The model selected the coach. Let me explain to you. You sit with somebody who is a coach, and they say to you, I love my work. I'm a coach and I'm successful, and I thrive on the energy that I get from the success and the feedback from my clients, and it really makes a difference in their lives. And then the other part, the coach might say to you, you should really try to become a coach. I'm, let's say, a goal-setting coach. Then this is the training. This is where you get the training. But most of the coaches never got to the point of saying, but will this specific model and method work for me? Am I comfortable? And then they try it, like I have done. I'll share with you the information. And then I said, this is not working. I can't do this. So before starting to be a coach, and remember, dear participants and coaches, that the majority of coaches do not go through the process of selecting the model that they experience within themselves as the best for them. Remember, what works for me might not work for you, and what works for you might not work for me. So, and we must be very mature and honest and open about this. So let's have a look. If we start with the journey of becoming a coach, for heaven's sake, don't spend for now, in the next 4-5 weeks, please don't spend money on training or on anything. Just wait a bit. Just take your time and just relax and say, nothing will happen in the next few days or month or so. Let me just start with something. Everybody is a coach. If you raised children, worked, managed people, participated in sports, or helped anybody to do something, you have coaching experience. So that's the first thing that we must say to one another. We are all coaches. If some of us are very active in our coaching, some are not. What we need, if we want to turn coaching into a business or into something that I want to do with my time for fulfillment and for an additional income, or whatever the reason might be, you need a structure. It's like a template or a recipe. There are many. There are probably hundreds. I was about to say 1,000, but I think that's a bit too many. But there are minimum hundreds of these recipes and models and ways of coaching. I'll share with you the top 10, 12. And you need to select the one that you believe is best for you. Remember, it might not be the one that works for me, but if you are convinced it'll work for you, then that model is best for you. I had a discussion with somebody today who said to me, he had a discussion with coaches, and they said, but we don't like a recipe. Now, luckily, I've prepared this 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago. Some people might say, and the higher people are qualified in terms of theoretical knowledge, university or technicon, or even technical university qualifications, the more they are inclined to say, but I don't want the recipe. Now, let me just help you understand the problem with that statement. I don't want the recipe. I don't want to follow a recipe. This is not baking a bread. The problem is, if you don't have a recipe, then not working with a recipe is your recipe. Everybody has a method. Everybody has a process. And I have been in many training sessions. I'm trained in quite a few of these coaching principles, models, and methods. And every time the highly qualified individual would say, but we don't follow a recipe. Then I wait, because I don't want to ask the question immediately. I wait. And then eventually I say, okay, what is step 1 in your coaching? No, this is step 1. What is step 2? This is step 2. What is step 3? This is step 3. 4, this is step 4. I said, but that's a recipe. We must be very careful to make these statements, because it's pure simply not true. If you have a method, you have a recipe. So let's leave it there. You need a specific approach. You must understand the basics of the model that you believe is best. Just the basics. Let's just start here and say, I need to understand the basics of the model, because I need to decide which one will work best for me, so that I can go into that training and get myself skilled in that area. The available tool is not always the best tool. Please, dear delegates, please be mindful of the fact that you are trained as some kind of a coach doesn't mean it's the best method for you. It means that it's the one that you know. And the available tool is the one that you know. It's not always the best one. There might be others that could work better for you as the specific individual coach. Most coaches use a method or a model that crossed their path. They saw the advertising, they got a booklet, they bought a book at Exclusive Books, or they engaged with a few coaches, or they spoke to a coach. So a model just came to them by means of chance. They stumbled on a method. They do not critically evaluate if a specific model will work for them. My approach, with the help that I want to offer to you, is choose the model that works best for you. Doesn't have to be the model that works for me. Choose the one that works for you, because it's important for us, for me, that you make a success out of your coaching practice and your world. these are the top 12 coaching models. There are new ones now that you will read on the advertising pages, and if you search on Google, or if you whatever you might search for coaching, you may find new words. I must be honest with you, I had a look at all of these new words, and my experience is that it's an old method of reflective discussions and guidelines with a new jacket. It's if I look at the content, it's what I have been taught at university a few years back. And I said to myself, but this is exactly the same as the model of this and this from the late 60s or from the early 70s or whatever it might be. So be very mindful of the fact that some of these models have very funky pictures of the brain and neuro-language and neuro-connections. Just be mindful of the fact that it might just not be as new as they claim it to be, because I've been around the block and I know these things. So I'm going to run through these quickly. You can Google it. You'll find a lot of information on all these models. You can ask any of the AI engines to give you a one-pager on any of these models, and it'll write the pages for you. But these are the 12 ones that are well sort of rooted in the world of coaching. The GROW model, this model stands for goal, reality, options, and will. It's not a bad model. It's not a bad model. There's a bit of criticism against this idea of goal setting without somebody that takes you through the process. Goal setting without a process is dead. So the criticism against the GROW model, and remember, I'm saying again, this is not a bad model. The criticism against it is that the practical action part of it is a bit thin. But obviously, the coach must then fill that in. SMART goals. SMART is an acronym for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound coaching. This is a good model. Make a mental note of this. This is a good model. It's a SMART coaching model. It works with, it's very specific. In other words, we are focused. We take measurable steps. In other words, we do not set a goal of becoming a billionaire in the next 6 weeks, because it's not realistic. It must be measurable. We must say that I can measure my success. It's achievable. It's relevant. In other words, it has value in my life. And it's time bound, because if it's not time bound, I can leave this open and never do anything to make progress in my life. So it's like a project. Be mindful of this word. It's like a project. And then the Wheel of Life. This is a visual tool used to assess and balance different areas of a client's life. Doesn't work for me. It's not a bad model, but you've got to buy into this. And I will tell you what the problem is that I have with it. If I start practicing or exercise to run the Comrades, an ultra marathon, for the international people that might watch the video, the Comrades is in South Africa, an ultra marathon. It's you run for a day. During my preparation, I need to run 20 kilometers or 12 miles a day, every day. That's the balance point for me. But for the person next to me, it's a completely unbalanced life. They would walk away and say, this man is mad. He runs 20 kilometers a day. How unbalanced can you be? The problem with this is this idea of a balanced life is a very complicated thing, because my view of a balanced a way of doing things and your view of a balanced way of doing things might be light years apart. So just be mindful. If you read about the Wheel of Life, just be a bit critical and say, let me have a look at the detail. Then the appreciative inquiry. This program focuses on identifying and leveraging the client's strength, and successes to foster positive change. It's a bit fluffy for me. I think it's a bit theoretical. It's nice words. I'm not comfortable with it, but have a look at it. NLP, Neuro-Linguistic, this is one of the biggest coaching models in the world. It is, it's very well embedded in the world of coaching. It's a very solid system. It's been used very widely, not only by coaches, but by sports professionals, psychologists. There's a whole world of neuro-linguistic programming coaches and therapists and counselors and whatever the names might be. It's losing a bit of the energy currently, but it's still very strong. NLP Neuro involves understanding the ways in which individuals perceive the world and communicate. It's a model that is about perception and communication. And the principle is that you use the way in which people think to reprogram their experience of the world. I'm a qualified NLP practitioner, master practitioner. It didn't work for me. But for the guys who trained me and for the guys who went through the training with me, some of them liked it. They said it's fantastic. It did not work for me. But the problem is not the program. The problem is me. I didn't believe in it. I didn't buy into it. So I started with a very skeptical mind. I said, this is a bit, I can't get my hands around this in my mind. And this is a bit thin. It's a bit fluffy. It's a bit theoretical. And it's a bit ideas like, you know, it's like giving somebody advice and say, you must think in a different way about your career. And then by saying that, you think that the problem is now solved. Let me just say something. Feeling better about a discussion with somebody doesn't take the problem that you discussed away. I'll go into some detail if you want to later on. Then the CLEAR model, this model stands for contracting, listening, exploring, action, and review. It's not a bad model. I like it. It's very solid. It's a bit, the training it's a bit of a challenge, but the CLEAR model is quite okay. Then FUEL model. FUEL stands for frame the conversation, understand the current state, explore the desired state, and lay out a success plan. I don't like it. Now, I want to tell you a story. 6 little birds sat on the side of a pond. 5 of them planned to fly away. How many remained seated? All 6. Because the 5 planned to fly away, they didn't fly. This is my criticism. Having a plan to solve a problem doesn't solve the problem. That's what the government does. Or governments tend to do this. They have a plan, but they don't have they don't take action. So I'm a bit skeptical about this, but that's my issue. You might feel differently. The OSCAR model, OSCAR stands for outcome, scaling, know-how, and resources, affirm and action and review. It's not bad. It's based on some of the other models that we have already. It's got a bit of a new name. It's very much the same as the SMART model, second from the top, and the GROW model, first one on the top. It's a bit of a patchy model. Take this, take this, take this, take this, and put a model together, but it's not bad. Then solution-focused model. Now start to switch on your mind. Solution-focused coaching. This paradigm focuses on finding solutions rather than dwelling on problems. This is a good model. If you want me to emphasize something, this is a good model, whether you like it or not, and whether it works for me or not. This is a solid, good coaching model. What it does is, and I'm very well on top of this model. This paradigm says we need to stop living in the problem. We need to move away from the problem and design actions that will build a new, better life going into the future. I like this. I am very, very, very well much sold on this. I like it. I like this idea of we cannot change the divorce. What now? It is what it is. Let's start planning a new life. I like this model. It works for me. But some people are critical about it. They say that if people didn't process their anger or their hardship, I'm not there. It doesn't work for me. I'm the problem. Then behavioral coaching. This approach is based on the principle of practice makes perfect. This is probably the top model of all the models in my mind. The principle of behavioral coaching is, if you want to learn to swim, you've got to swim. That's it. If you want to learn to hit a golf ball, you've got to stand on the driving range, hit golf balls. If you want to learn how to solve problems, you've got to solve problems. If you want to learn how to connect to people, you've got to connect to people. So you've got to practice it, you've got to do it, you've got to repeat it so that the neurons in the brain connect, they form habits, and those habits become part of your natural behavior that is effortless and that makes life for you much easier. This is the model for me. Then the self-coaching model. This model stands for circumstances, thoughts, feelings, actions, and results. I don't like it. I can't get my mind around it. I don't work with these things. I can't. It just doesn't work. Some of the coaches that I spoke to during my lifetime love it. Some of the ministers that worked with me in counseling and coaching at some of the places where we worked with drug dependencies and alcohol dependencies, they love this model. I don't like it. Doesn't work for me. Then narrative coaching. I'm a trained and qualified narrative coach. This model is based on the idea of storytelling and all the different aspects of it. Now, dear wannabe coaches and other delegates, storytelling is probably one of the most powerful things that we can use to teach somebody something, but not to change their lives. And this is absolutely critical to understand. The narrative model is fantastic, but not as a facilitator of change so much as a facilitator of learning. You can teach me, you can tell me stories about cycling and playing golf and dealing with conflict. It doesn't mean that I will be able to do it. But if I go in and get myself on a bicycle or in the swimming pool or in a conflict situation, that experience that I have, the fact that I'm in it and I'm doing it, back to behavioral coaching, you learn to deal with conflict by dealing with conflict. You learn to be resilient by pushing yourself beyond the boundaries. So the narrative coaching is a very powerful teaching model, but it's not that good in my experience and the way I have tried to do it as a facilitator of actions and change in the lives of an individual. And I know people who are extremely successful as narrative coaches, but it's not me. I don't. What I have done, obviously, as a result that I've built and I've done all the research to build ShadowMatch, the tool, the big tool, or the system. When I decided to turn on a coaching system as an extension of the ShadowMatch system as a whole, I said to myself, ShadowMatch is based on the psychological model of behaviorism. It's a solid behaviorism model. We work with behavior and how a change of behavior changes the neuron structures in the brain. That's basic science. And what I've decided is to base it on the principles of smart coaching, smart goals, solution-focused coaching, and behavioral coaching. So ShadowMatch as a system sits in these three models predominantly. And the reason for this is ShadowMatch is a behavioral model system. It measures the habits of an individual. And I'm convinced, and it looks like the scientific evidence now supports my conviction, that if we want to change our lives, we need to change our habits. And to change our habits is not a discussion or a decision. It's a process. You change your habits as a result of repetitive behavioral change. And if you don't want to change your behavior, the neuron connections in your brain won't change and you will stay where you are. So from a shadow match coaching perspective, the model that we have built is based on SMART goals, solution-focused coaching, and the base structure of the system is behavioral coaching. Now, with that in mind, this is just to highlight the fact that solution-focused coaching, this paradigm focuses on finding solutions rather than dwelling on problems. This is what the system is about. This is what our coaching platform, the Shadow Match coaching platforms, is not about. Tell me what happened during this experience that you had. What did it smell like? What did it look like? How did you feel about it? We don't do that. We don't do that. We say, okay, you went through a hard time. What needs to happen to change your life to be better? Let's work on that. The question is not, so tell me, why have you come to see me? The question we start with as a Shadow Match coach is, you are with me for a reason. What must happen in your life to make tomorrow better than today? So we immediately go into solution mode, and we do not allow our customers, our clients, to start falling back into what they experienced and what they went through. It might be trauma, blah, blah, blah. Sometimes you can't keep them away, but you can have a look at the training. We emphasize identifying and building on a client's strength and resources to achieve their goals. This is exactly what we do, and work towards building a better life. That's it. That's the model that we've built, that I have built, that we have developed as a research team, that the program is scoped and spec'd and programmed. And the second, the green shaded area there is behavioral coaching. This approach is based on the principle of practice makes perfect. We learn to swim by swimming. We do not learn to swim by chewing bubble gum. If you want to change your life, change your habits. Nothing will change unless we do something. We can talk, discuss, feel better, walk away from a coaching session and say, I feel so much better. Nothing has changed. Nothing, just your feelings have changed. And we keep on doing something to change things. We need to use existing habits to steer our lives. By repetitive and relentless resilience, we build better habits, because if you want to change your life, you have to change your habits. That's it. And that doesn't happen in a short period of time. It takes time, and that's why you are a coach. You have to spend the time with your client. So if you decide that you like the Shadow Match idea, and remember, I'm selling the Shadow Match idea because that's what I think works best, but you must be critical. But if you sign up as a Shadow Match coach, you get 31 different coaching programs that you can choose to use. There are 31, 8 relationship coaching, 20 personal development, developing specific habits, career coaching, fulfillment coaching, study method coaching. They're all on the platform. You can just activate them and the program is available. All the work has been done. You are the facilitator, the thinker, and the action planner. This is where the critical role of the coach comes in. The system gives you the content. The system gives you the tools and the reference points, and the coach now becomes a partner. You will hear about this partnership next week when we discuss the question, what is coaching and how is it different from mentorship and counseling and therapy? You become a partner in the life of your client to think and plan, what actions do I need to take to make tomorrow and next week better than yesterday, today, and the previous week. All our training is available for coaches who are active on the system, no additional costs. So if you are active, a participating member of our system, and you have one coaching program live, we can talk about the costs later. All the training, there are 3 certificates, and we have monthly sessions, Q&A sessions, and there's a lot. Don't worry, there's a lot. There's more than what most of our coaches ever use. One free shadow match, you get one free shadow match worksheet and a stress mapper worksheet for you as the coach to experience the worksheets and to be informed about the reports the system writes. So if you sign up on the Shadow Match platform, we send you a worksheet. You can then do the worksheet to experience what the questions are, so that you can talk with your clients in an informative manner. But you also get all the reports that the system generates. Well, not all of them, but the primary ones, so that you have a visual view and content of what the reports look like, what the content is, and what the feel of the reports are. You get 5 Stress Mapper worksheets to build your business. A Stress Mapper worksheet is an AI interview with a client to determine where their stress points are, but there's training on the system about that. And then keep in mind, you pay per program per month for use of the system. So if you have 2 programs live, you pay for 2 programs, but that we can discuss later on. So in order to help you for the next week, there are a few points that you need to take into consideration, and you need to fill some of the gaps in your thinking if there are some gaps open. What you should do, dear delegates, is to study some of the models on the list above. We've gone through the list above, the 12 models. There are others as well, but just be mindful. Some of these funky new models are not as funky and not as new as they seem to be. If you go into the detail, you'll find, this is not really, new words doesn't make a thing new. So then ask yourself which one will work best for you. Determine what support you get if you use a specific model. This is absolutely critical. To be trained and no support, no content, no guideline, no system post-training has very limited value. Be mindful of that. As a coach, you are going to run into tough and challenging situations. And if you don't have the support of a well-formulated model and a structure around you and a system, then it might just become a bit of a bridge that is tough to get across. Select the model that meets most of your requirements. Remember, dear delegates, as you will never get a coaching program that fits your hand perfectly. There will always be something that's a little bit tight. But find the one, make sure that you get the one. It's like buying shoes. If you buy shoes, make sure that you can walk with the things. If you can't walk with them in the shoe shop, you won't be able to walk with them when you get home. So make sure that the program that you select at least fit the best that you can get. And remember, this is important. You won't get the perfect one. So just be mindful of the fact that you want the one, you would like the one that fits your way of doing things the best. We will send you a video or 2. If you don't get it by Friday, I think, just let us know. I didn't get the videos about the Shadow Match coaching system. Have a look at what the Shadow Match coaching platform offers. You can access the platform at www.shadowmatchcoaching.com. It's quite a complete coaching information website. So there's a lot of information on it. And then one of the very clever things that you can do is to go to shadowmatchcoaches.com. I haven't asked any of our coaches to say something nice, and they can vouch for this. but just send them a message and say, what is your experience of the system? What is your experience of the support that you get, what the system does for you? Does it work for you? So that you just get a feel from other coaches, and not only one. Send an email. Remember, only a limited number of our coaches are on the visible platform on shadowmatchcoaches.com. Some of them prefer not to be published there because they either have enough coaching work, or they are so specialized that they coach in a specific area, in a specific business, and they just don't need to the marketing value of shadowmatchcoaches.com. But make contact with one of our coaches, or 2 or 3, and ask them how the system works for them. But be mindful of the fact that you have to make an informed decision about the way that you would like to take on the world of coaching and be a good and a solid coach. So your homework for the week is go through the coaching models, read a bit about them, ask a few AI engines to write something about it, Google a few of them that might sound good for you, read critical, make a few notes, and if necessary, discuss it with somebody. If you want to look at the one that we have built as a Shadow Match team, these are the links, and we will send you some of the information tomorrow, maybe Friday morning. With that, thank you very much. Thanks for being here. Lizette, back to you.